Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we will be doing What If Deku Had Galaxy Eyes Part 2. I do apologize if I sound tired, as it's early in the morning for me. Uh, Other than that, let's get started. Instead of easily landing on the roof, as expected, Izuku fell, just barely grabbing onto the fire escape, and then losing his grip on that and slamming into the ground. Izuku groaned. "Which one of you assholes erased my quirk?" before rolling up on his front. When trying to stand, Izuku found that his leg felt like it was asleep. He pulled himself up to his feet, regardless, and began running, constantly testing his quirk to see when it came back. The second it did, Izuku covered the street with a new night sky. Now, with his quirk back, he no longer needed to run. Turning around to face Gang Orca and a few of his sidekicks, Izuku slammed his arms together over his head. They formed a longsword of dark galaxy-stained metal. He held it over his head for a few seconds longer before swinging it down. It unleashed a giant purple wave that threw cars and took out Gang Orca's entire group, though it wasn't enough to take out someone in the top 10. Orca himself had a nasty gash on his chest. Izuku raised his hand and an orb of raw plasma filled it. Izuku threw his hand towards Gang Orca, only for his clothes to redirect the shot. Izuku was then tied by his own clothes as Best Jeanist walked into view. For one of Nezu's plans, this has gone quite awry. Still, you're trapped. Izuku smiled under his hood. You underestimate. He's swallowed by another ball of plasma, this one covering Izuku fully. How willing am I to fight naked? Izuku was now standing fully nude with the confidence of a god as Eraserhead came out of a nearby building, removing the roof and revealing a news helicopter. Huh, my wang's on TV, he said offhandedly. Aizawa blinked in surprise. Now he could see properly, quote unquote, if you catch my drift. Izuku took advantage of this and slammed him into the highly pressurized stream of water. He turned to the now standing Gang Orca and Jeanist. Well, this is the end of the line for one of us. He then switched places with Best Jeanist through some kind of portal, who was slammed into the ground by Mercuro's kick. Also, I apologize if I can't say that name right. I believe it's pronounced Mirko. But yeah, as you can tell, I'm not really good with names. So, apologies in advance. Izuku smiled at Mirko. Thanks for that. Three top-tier heroes might be a bit much for me to handle, at least without killing. Would have been four if Eraserhead he never got to finish his sentence as Mirko came flying at him again. This time, instead of dodging, Izuku took the hit on his shoulder at the very edge. Using his momentum to hit Izuku, spun around and kicked her in the side while she was still in midair. Mirko managed to block, but the force of the attack combined with the blast of the wind was more than enough to throw her through a building. He then leapt over a paralyzing blast. Wings appear on his back for the briefest moment. Landing behind Gang Orca, Izuku stabbed him in the side while a blast of plasma and then tore off his hand free, now back to normal. With a shake of his bloodied hand, he said, Well, that shot Izuku once again was unable to finish, as he was punched by a giant fist covered in fire. Getting up and patting out the fire, Izuku turned to the newcomers, the number one and number two. Now this is just starting to be bullshit. I mean, where did Flame Boy even come from? Endeavor didn't speak, and instead got ready to attack, but All Might was more than ready to converse. Enough of this and surrender now, and no more damage will come to you. Izuku just laughed. You may need to get your eyes checked, All Might. I ain't the one who's been hurt. Still, Izuku placed his hand over his remaining eye. Neither of the heroes made a move, sensing some kind of trick. You two aren't going to be taken lightly, I guess. The kitty gloves come off! He lowered his hand slightly to reveal both his pupil and sclera had been completely taken over, and it looked as though the galaxy was ready to spill out and cover the rest of his face. Of course this was far less terrifying as he wasn't wearing clothes, but Izuku was still scary enough to make the cameraman of a nearby helicopter faint, sensing the bloodlust. All Might flew at him with a Detroit smash. Izuku just stood there and let it happen, and when it hit, he didn't even budge, and Izuku grasped his arm with one hand. Then he grew taller, his skin coated with a galaxy-looking like substance. He kept growing until he was a bit taller, although not as buff, as All Might, who had been hammering seemingly unaffectedly at Izuku's ribs. He actually broken them all several dozen times over. Izuku slammed his fist into All Might's face with the power of a dozen smashes. Endeavor, seeing his quote-unquote ally out of the way, launched a blast of fire at Izuku, which was sent back at him 3 times as large. Of course, it did nothing, but the one blade that hit him hurt like hell. Izuku shrunk down, a smirk on his face. Oh, come on. I'm not gonna put the kitty gloves back on at this rate. His smirk was matched by All Might's eternal smile, and for some reason, Endeavor's, as they charged at each other. As it turns out, their failure to keep up was more than underestimating. Their opponent, as All Might and Endeavor swiftly found out, his long-range skill was far worse than his close to mid-range. Despite that being their preferred distance, as well, the two hung back. All Might launched a blast of air, and Endeavor launching his fire attack. It quickly became apparent that Izuku could not keep up with the two at such a distance, nor could he close the distance, as if he tried to charge one, the other would attack him from behind. This left him with one option. He would fight to run away. Izuku unleashed dozens of weak attacks that just barely reached the two heroes, and corralled them together. Though they were far from close together, Izuku charged the two of them. His body formed a battering ram of incredibly sharp blades. Even his intangible wings were now fully extended, around 10 meters long, were sharpened to razor edge. Whether or not they would do anything was answered when the left wing shredded through a piece of rubble like it was butter, as he raced towards the two heroes who were prepared to dodge. However, when the time came for them to leap out of the way, Izuku made the blades disappear, essentially retracting into his body. His wings, however, remained the same length as he zoomed past the two heroes, who weren't able to strike him properly. Izuku kept on flying until he was out of the city, at which point he kneeled over, patting his hands on his knees, and then he heard a gun being cocked. Looking up, he saw a couple of dozen cops and other forms of police waiting, guns out. Okay, really? Just fucking really? You know what the fuck, just arrest me. Throw me in jail, right bloody now, please. Zuko said, wrist held out and his face seemingly done with this shit. There was a small cough from tea-drinking mouse, bear, no, dog-like man. Actually, there will be no need for you to be taken to jail. Instead, you will be enrolled at my school. Or you can go to jail if you wish, I suppose. Huh. Of course I'd rather go to you. Wait, is that why everyone has been attacking me? Well, yes, Nezu said with an innocent tilt of his head. So you got some of the most skilled heroes in the world to attack me, just so you can offer me an exclusively beneficial deal. Yes. And at this point Izuku blew up at the small creature, somewhat literally. Why the hell would you just not ask me? It's purely beneficial with no negatives whatsoever. If you had just asked me on the street, even I would have fucking said yes. Because why the hell wouldn't you? During this rant, Nezu took a long draught of tea, which he gently put on his platter before saying, well, when you put it that way, it makes quite a bit of sense. Izuku facepalmed. The smartest person on Earth is a bloody moron. Well, that's it for today, folks. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications if you really need to. Uh, do be aware, my posting schedule is far more broken down than any of the other guys. So don't expect me to post videos as often as them, as well as I'm trying to get used to the new editing software that Shadow recommended to me. Uh, so if there is any problems with the recording, just comment down below and I'll see if I could get that fixed. With that out of the way, hope you enjoyed. See you all next time.